Talking about Noahides and hospitality. And I think most of us look towards Abraham as our example of hospitality. Abraham invited people into his tent to refresh themselves with food, and the only thing he asked in return was that at the end of that meal that people thanked Hashem for providing their sustenance. And I think in lots of ways we can really look deeply into the example that Abraham has set for us all. He not only refreshed his guests with a meal, but when they were finished and ready to continue on their journey, Abraham escorted his guests, and depending on the circumstances, how far he escorted his guests. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Have you ever visited someone and spent a nice time with them, maybe had a meal, what have you, and when it was time to go home, you said your goodbyes, the host opened the door, let you out, and before you could draw a breath, they'd shut the door and that was it. And you were sort of left standing there and proceeded to your car or the bus stop or your push bike or whatever it was or is to leave the premises. It's a peculiar feeling. I've had it done to me, and I think, oh, okay, righto, I'll leave. You don't even get a chance to have maybe a second opportunity to say, look, I really enjoyed myself here. It's like, no, it's over. Open the door, out you go, shut the door, bang, that's it, it's all over. When I was a child growing up, and up until my parents were deceased, we always, naturally you greet your guests, but when it was time for those guests to leave, it was just the done thing. Whoever was remaining in the household got up and you walked those people to their vehicle, to their car. And we lived in the country, you know, the long way from civilization in some ways. And so not only did we walk them to their car and say our final goodbyes and wish them the blessings, etc., but if the weather was inclement, if there had been a little bit of rain or something like that, or perhaps the drivers were young or elderly people, my father would actually get in his car or vehicle and follow those people along our internal road on the property until they were out safely onto the main arterial road. Now, he did that because a little bit of rain could make the road slippery, they could be bogged. Our road to the main road from the property was a reasonable distance. So he would quite often do that just to make sure that they were actually safely on the main road heading to their home. And I thought nothing of it. That was just the right thing to do, a kindness. It was just being a good host. And we still, in our household, when people are leaving, we walk out to the car and wave them off, so to speak, escort them to their car at least. We're not quite as isolated as I was when I was a child, but it's just something that was always practiced in my family, and something that, I just think it's good manners. It's just good manners. If someone's been a guest in your house, it's another courtesy that you're going to extend to them. Social morality and obligation of doing kindness. Now, this, if you do have the 3rd edition of the Divine Code, you will actually find this final chapter on page 692, and you can read it for yourself. It just gives some explanations there, some of which you may have already read. But what I like is the very final page in the book, page 700, and the very final paragraph is about hospitality. And I want to read it to you. Escorting a guest at the conclusion of one's hospitality is greater than inviting a guest into the house. And indeed, the sages say that one who does not escort a guest as he leaves is as if he has spilled his blood. How far must one escort a guest? One should walk the guest through the door and at least 4 cubits beyond the door. And if the guest is a respectable person, the host must escort the guest according to the guest's honour or their needs. So there's the closing paragraph in this book, in this 3rd edition, explains it beautifully. So not only is sharing a meal a wonderful thing, inviting guests or friends or neighbours for a meal, but also seeing them off, saying goodbye to them, escorting them to their vehicle is considered a courteous and obligatory thing that Noahides should do. And while we're talking about sharing a meal, you know, in this day and age, everyone lives on a budget, and I understand that. And but I want to stress that sharing a meal or refreshments with someone does not mean it has to be a royal banquet. It can be as simple as a sausage between bread with some sauce. It can be a sandwich, and or it could be morning or afternoon tea. It does not have to be a specific lavish affair. And we, in our shed on our farm, I've mentioned before, we often have these impromptu gathering of people, and you know, one of my son's barbecues, and it's about it's not so much even about what you're putting in your mouth. It is the hospitality of having people in and around your place of abode, being well mannered to them, providing them with refreshments, and on top of that, it's the fellowship, it's the coming together, it's the sharing and the caring. All those things are important. And the hospitality that Noahides practice is something that we should look at. How hospitable are we to friends and visitors? And I'm sure most people in Australia know what I'm talking about. Australians are very good at impromptu backyard barbecues and put a sausage on the barbecue, all sorts of things. But it is an expectation and an obligation that we as Noahides, practicing righteous Noahides, are hospitable, and we escort our guests according to their needs, and that we do take the example that Abraham has set for all mankind really to follow. I just have one announcement to make, and that is a reminder about our Noahide conference. It's our inaugural Australian Noahide conference. Will be held this year in September 9th, 10th and 11th in Brisbane. I have had some expressions of interest. There are a few details that I have not been able to publish simply because I haven't had the final costings in for catering, etc. And therefore I can't truthfully and accurately tell you what the actual conference will cost. However, the cost of your travel to and from Brisbane here and your accommodation, you must make those arrangements and pay for those yourself. That's your travel and your accommodation. I advise you to look for accommodation in the CBD because that will be in very comfortable walking distance to the actual venue for the conference. A reminder that if you're visiting us from outside of Australia, you will need to look at your travel documents, example, your visa. And also, Rabbi Dr. Shimon Cowan will actually be present on the Thursday of the conference. That's the 10th of September. He will be speaking and teaching us on that day. Now, the actual cost of the conference itself, that is the actual coming and being at the conference and the lessons, etc., and the conference package, that cost hasn't been finalised. But I can assure you it will be significantly less than you will be paying for your travel and accommodation. It is my sincere intention to keep the cost to an absolute minimum. So I want to just be able to cover our internal costs for the conference, and it's not about making money or profit out of this conference. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in September, and also remember, hospitality is important. It's about kindness, it's about manners, being respectful to others, sharing a meal with them. That's one of the main things that we as Noahide should concentrate when we come upon others. It doesn't have to be another Noahide person, but anyone that we come in contact with, it's your